Disappointment in the Women's FA Cup. Meanwhile, in the men's side of things, the injury news is getting better as Chelsea leave it late to round off a rather high scoring weekend of Premier League action. This is the Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show, joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. It is very much appreciated. I hope you've had a fantastic start to your week. It is Tuesday. I enjoyed a day off yesterday on Monday, which is a rarity for myself to get a Monday off, but it was quite a nice way to start the week. It was my father-in-law's birthday and we had a lovely time, lovely meal out, and spending some more time with our other family too. So it's important to do that. I know it's been joyous in the world of Arsenal, of course, but it's good to get your fixes elsewhere, and family certainly provides that. So I hope that you've spent some time with you and yours if you can. And if not, I hope that things are still going well indeed too. Let's jump into the chat box and say good morning to people, shall we? Black Shine, good morning to you, to Martin, to Darren, to Paul, to Ken, Matt G, Angela, Damien, Jimbo, Carl, Stephen, Shari, Louis, Josh, Johan, Jakob, Mr. Ree, NSW, Brian, Maximius, Jake, Babatunde, Lee, Martin, Red Star, Barry, Jalali, Morgie, Hanks, and Amira. Plenty more of you guys and girls as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I also want to wish, I had a really nice message sent to me yesterday from one of the listeners' other halves, asking for a happy birthday message. So, Melando, happy birthday to you. I hope you had a fantastic day yesterday as well. Shall we jump into the stories? And then, of course, we'll jump into the chat box for part two. I can see already plenty of you, Yomi and Jalali, moaning about moaning about the fact they're going to be missed off by StreamYard. Sorry, guys. StreamYard sometimes does it to you. I can only go off what is shown, I'm afraid. Right, jumping into the chat. We start, of course, with the weekend's results and Arsenal winning 6-0 against West Ham. If you want to get my in-depth and lengthy views on that victory, you can go and check out yesterday morning's show if you haven't done so already. We talked at length about the game. We talked through your comments and questions as well. But thank you to those that continue to help us get to the 1K like barrier as well. We hit that 1,000 likes with ease, and plenty more of you liked it too, which is just amazing. So if we can continue this theme, continue this trend, continue this campaign of getting to 1K likes every day, please do help us by just dropping a press on that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. I've had a fair few nice comments from people listening on Spotify and audio platforms that do hop over to YouTube and drop a like on the video. You are very much appreciated. So thank you so much for that. But please do go catch up on yesterday's show if you haven't done so already. So we need to talk about Arsenal being out of the Women's FA Cup, a 1-0 defeat to Manchester City at home. Very, very disappointing result indeed that really has, I think, ramped up the pressure on Jonas Eidevall as well, as he is now out of not only the Champions League, but the FA Cup. We're still in the Conti Cup, of course, and of course the title race goes on, but our form in the WSL has also been pretty poor of late too. And I was chatting to a friend of mine who I used to, I mean, he still works for Reach, but in a different department now with my friend Hush, who's been on the Arsenal way a few times back when we started it off a couple of years ago. And he said he's kind of done with Jonas Eidevall at this stage. So let us know in the comment sections if you are too, if you think that a change of manager is on the horizon. I don't think they'll change anything until the end of the season. But maybe a change of coach is in need for the women's side. We hope that things improve very, very soon. Moving forwards to our next story, and of course to the Premier League, last night's sole game, Chelsea leaving it very late to get their victory. There's something about other London clubs that are supposedly in the quote-unquote big six. Chelsea and Spurs both needing added time goals to secure their victories. Jefferson Lerma, with one of the best goals of the season so far, opened the campaign. An amazing attempt at kind of a scissor kick, well, not even a scissor kick, kind of a, I don't know how you would even describe it. It's where you like raise one left leg up and then you stamp it down, where you raise your right leg up to kind of strike with. Zinchenko scored one of those last season, and he misses it completely and falls to the floor before getting up, winning the ball back again, and then smashing in a shot onto the right-hand side. However, goals from Conor Gallagher and Enzo Fernandez were enough to secure the victory for Chelsea. I was saying on yesterday's show that talking about some of the best midfielders in the league this season, and I think Conor Gallagher has certainly been one of those, and he justified that decision and vindicated that view from me last night, although suggestions are Chelsea might even be open to selling him, which I just think would be mental, absolutely mental for Chelsea to consider doing. He's one of their most key and important players, it seems, at the moment. Now, there is said to be hope that Arsenal could have all their currently injured players back next month. That is the feeling. That would be great. Thomas Partey, Jurrien Timber, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, all players, Alexander Zinchenko, of course. And some could be back sooner than that. We might see Tomiyasu back sooner. We might see Smith-Rowe back sooner. We might see Zinchenko back sooner. We could hopefully see Partey back sooner. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But there is a hope, a growing hope, that there is going to be a very, very difficult decision for Arteta to have those players back. This comes from conversations I've had with a few people around as well, that suggest that there is some real optimism around this. So I'm very hopeful that we could see plenty of the Arsenal team back and available for Mikel Arteta as well. I look forward to it. But it's certainly an exciting point in time where Arsenal are doing so well, winning 6-0 against West Ham. And then, of course, being able to not even be able to call on some of their key players that they're still missing. So to see so many players back would be excellent. So I look forward to seeing that as well. Now, Arsenal are said to be keen on Pedro Neto. This is kind of the last story. We know this story. We've known this for some time, but there's been reports in recent days, of course, talking about the likes of Nico Williams, who we discussed. And that suggestion of Nico Williams has led kind of a shift, if you like, in focus to the Spanish international. According to Footy Insider, and this is certainly information that I know is accurate because it's been reported for quite some time, but I wanted to bring it up once again, is that Arsenal still are keen on Pedro Neto. He remains one of the key targets of Arsenal. And there is hope that, of course, that we might see Pedro Neto in an Arsenal shirt in the near future, maybe in the summer. That would be fantastic. If it's not him, it will be someone else. But I think a winger is certainly on the club's radar. A winger is certainly something that they want and need. And adding more depth into the right and left-hand sides could be excellent. So I look forward. I keep fingers crossed that a striker can come into. But a winger of the level of Pedro Neto would be absolutely sensational for Arsenal to be able to secure. So keep those fingers crossed that turns out to be the case. We finally need to tell you, of course, about more goal scorers, and one goal scorer in particular is Ian Wright. And you can still win a signed and framed Ian Wright shirt. There is tickets still remaining on this competition that will be ending in the next couple of days. 60 tickets remain of this 299 ticket competition, UK only. There's opportunities to win some instant win prizes, including, when available, the Martin Odegaard and Freddie Ljungberg signed shirts as individual prizes. If you've already entered, best of luck. If you haven't yet, as I say, it's UK only. Link down in the description. Get involved. Do not miss out on your chance to get involved with this latest competition indeed. And let me know if you are successful in any of these. It's great to see so many of our listeners have already won some of these prizes too. So fantastic stuff. And I look forward to hearing more positivity surrounding that. Right. Let's go to part 2 and your questions right after this. Okay, part 2. If you haven't already done so, as I've said before, let's get those hashtag 1K every day into the chat box as we try to achieve our target. As always, thank you so much for everyone that has already dropped a like on the video. But if we can try and push towards that 1K like target once again, it would be incredibly appreciated. Right, Garrett says, is it really worth taking the risk on Pedro Neto with that injury record that he has? I just can't look past it. And you know what? I don't blame you, because it is very, very difficult to look past Pedro Neto's injury record. It is a very, very, well-versed injury record indeed. Just going on to Transfermarkt to have a look at it. So far, an ankle injury last season meant he missed 27 games. He's already missed 9 games this season because of a hamstring injury. And in the 2021 season, of course, he suffered that injury to his knee in April that cost him through to the 21-22 season. 52 matches across club and country were missed. An incredible amount of issues that he has suffered during his time with Wolves. Is that enough to take? Is it really enough to take the risk on him? I think that it still is. I have said before that I've kind of stopped even looking at injury records almost at this point because players that arrive at Arsenal like Partey with pristine injury histories still get injured and get injured regularly. So can I really look at those injury records as damningly, if that's even a word, as possible? I'm not sure. Just going quickly into some of our super chats and starred messages. Bakary Lasagna, who's been a member now for 14 months of the channel, over celebrating or under celebrating my membership, says Bakary Lasagna. Well, congratulations on making 14 months, mate, and thank you for the kind support. And someone who's started a brand new membership with the family is Alex Quinn. Thank you, Alex, so much for joining the channel as a member and helping support us and getting access to, of course, everything that you've chosen from the bracket of membership, whatever it is. If you become a TGT expert member or a TGT ambassador, you get access to our Discord server as well, of which there is over 500 odd people in there now. Not 500 odd people. You know the phrase, like a number and then the word odd. Some of them are odd. Some of them are really odd. James, Ginger Gooner, I'm looking at you. But no, the majority of them are absolutely fine. But it's an amazing community of people, and you're more than welcome, Alex, to join if indeed you are an expert member or a TGT ambassador. Ree says, Tom, shall we do a poll on who's been the player of the season so far? Is that something we want? Do we want to do a poll? What's difficult about doing the poll is that I only get to do 4 options. So we usually have to pick 3 and then have another one. So it can be really, really difficult to pick kind of one player, or rather just 3 players for the poll. I think that it's a tough one, isn't it? I think you'd have to pick Gabriel as one of those. I think Declan Rice absolutely has to be one. And I think because of the goals and assists, I think he's got 13 goals and 13 assists this season. I think we probably have to have Bukayo Saka, and then we'll have other. So we'll have 4 options. So player of the season, we'll have Declan Rice, we'll have Bukayo Saka, we'll have Gabriel, and that's Magalhaes. I should put Gabriel, or we'll just put Magalhaes because some people might get confused. And then we'll put other, and then you can leave your comments in the chat box. Who would you want? So start. I can hear myself now when I'm trying to put the poll in. That's disconcerting. Hopefully that poll is going live in the chat box. So let me know as well. Oh, have we had a gifting of memberships? I think we have. Jurassic J, thank you so much for kindly gifting 5 memberships into the chat box. Let's see if I can even see who's been gifted those memberships. I sometimes can if I'm on YouTube, which I am right now. Yes, I can. So Vivian, Peter Renner, Johan, Reese Prince, and there should be maybe one more that I can't see at the moment, but all you guys have been gifted memberships, so congratulations and thank you to Jurassic Jai for that very, very kind gifting of memberships into the chat box. What an absolute legend. Thank you, mate. Much appreciate it. Let's go to into the chat now, and we'll of course get a feedback on that poll towards the end of the show. Maximir says, sorry Tom, one with an injury history as Neto is not for me. It's one thing buying an injury-free player who then gets injured, but it's sacrilege buying an injury-prone player and expecting them to do well. I know where you're coming from, and I absolutely understand and empathize with your the apprehension. He's just so talented. If you can, of course, get him to be a regular contributor, and if you can rely on him in some ways, then he would be an incredible player for us. But yeah, you're right to be apprehensive. I can't not knock the idea of being a bit apprehensive about that situation. I think we had a question where I saw about the injuries story we had earlier on. Let me see if I can find it. Someone was asking a question around if it was also including Jurrien Timber. It's now disappeared off my screen because there's so many of you commenting, which I really appreciate. But then I can't find the comment that I was looking for. Someone asked a question did that injury record also include Timber? I'll try and find the question as I'm talking about it. But in short, yes, there is obviously hope from the chats I've had, the conversations I've had, certainly with some of the people around things and some of the sources, is that there's real optimism that Jurrien Timber could be back soon. I've said from the start, I feel like March would be when we would expect him back. I've said that for months and months and months now, despite some people going as far to say February. Some people even went as far as saying January. And I said to you guys, that was mad. I've maintained that I think March was when I was told that there was real optimism that maybe we could see it. Yeah, we will continue to wait. I really hope that turns out to be accurate. If there's not any setbacks, of course, then hopefully March would be a great opportunity to see him return. But there is some real optimism around things at the moment that Tomiyasu and Smith Rowe and Vieira and Zinchenko. Of course, Smith Rowe is a bit of a frustrating one because obviously he's only just rolled his ankle, but that's hopefully just minor from the sounds of things. So yeah, and having Partey back as well, and he's hopefully going to be returning to action soon, we hope, and then Arsenal have got some real options for Mikel Arteta to choose from as well. We might do a phone-in show today. I know I promised one last week. I had an awful headache on Thursday, and that stopped me from doing it. But I'm hoping that we might end up being able to do a phone-in show either today or Thursday. It might be Thursday. It might be today. I'll keep you in the loop. But it might be Thursday. If it's not today, it will be Thursday. So keep an eye out, but we'll hopefully be doing and I want to do one on the atmosphere. I want to do another phone-in show on tickets as well, because I think that's a topic that has started to rise up a little bit more. The atmosphere in the stadium against Liverpool was unbelievable. How do we keep that going, of course, because that atmosphere was there despite the allocation cut for the Ashburton Army. That atmosphere was still incredible. So it's clearly we've got the ability to keep the atmosphere as it was. But there's still question marks about the ballot system and the ticketing system. So I think I want to do a phone-in show. It probably will be Thursday. Now I'm thinking about it because I think, and this is relevant, but the missus is on an early shift, meaning she's back earlier tonight. And, family's important. You've got to spend time with them as much as you can. So I think it'll probably be Thursday because I think she's doing a later shift Thursday. So we should have time. I don't want to get some stick for that. But I think it's important that you work around your family. It's always important to do that. So yeah, Thursday, I hope to bring you a phone-in show about tickets, and you can jump on and have your thoughts heard on that topic as well. Because I know it's a passionate one for a lot of people. Paul says, we bought Tierney with a poor injury record, some with Jesus as well as Zinchenko. I hope we learn our lessons. I like Neto a lot, but he's not much of an injury. But I like Neto a lot, but not so much with his injury record. It's worth pointing out that players like Zinchenko and Jesus, who also had their injury issues, of course, prior to arriving at Arsenal, have contributed and helped Arsenal get to that next level. So you can still sign those players that have got concerns around their fitness and their reliability in terms of their attendance in games. But those players that we've mentioned there, Tierney as well, have helped us level up in positions and move forward. So we've signed players that have had issues, and we've still benefited from having those players as well. Adam says, do you think it seems like players are set injured when they sign for Arsenal, or do you think players naturally have a higher chance due to the change in training styles? I don't think it is anything to do with the difference in training, to be honest. There may be a slight factor in that, but usually there are underlying issues, and sometimes it's just bad luck, Adam, I'm afraid. Sometimes players do just get injured. Like the Smith Rowe injury, the amount of poor takes, I'll be very honest. And, some people that had these poor takes are my friends. And I think there are really poor takes. Some of the really poor takes following the Smith Rowe issue, I couldn't quite believe. Yes, it's frustrating he's got injuries. Yes, I know some people are kind of done with Smith Rowe in terms of his availability because of his injury-prone nature. But he rolled his ankle. This is something that can happen to any player. The most fit and reliable player can roll their ankle in a bad moment because it's just bad luck. So to use this affliction, which is just a rolled ankle, as so we're told, as some kind of stick to beat Smith Rowe with again, to say he's injury prone, he's got injured again, it's just ludicrous. It's like Jack Wilshere, right? Jack Wilshere was an incredibly unlucky player. And you might say that Jack Wilshere was an injury-prone player. I personally don't describe him in such senses because I just think he was incredibly unlucky. The injuries that he suffered, towards the end of his career, which ended his career, obviously caused him to be injury-prone. But the big misses that we had him with, The big periods of time where Jack Wilshere wasn't available for Arsenal were because of such bad luck of challenges he suffered because of the style of footballer he was. It wasn't because of a weakness or, supposedly having, as some fans really, I hate this term, called him glass ankles. It wasn't that at all. He had a bad tackle in training. I think he had a really bad tackle in a Manchester United game as well. And players like Abu Diaby or Aaron Ramsey, these are injury-prone players. These are players that have had muscular issues before. These are players that have muscular problems that come up. Thomas Partey is an injury-prone player now because of the successive muscular issues. But when it comes to like ligaments and broken bones and things like that, and I know Ramsey obviously suffered a broken leg, but Aaron Ramsey also had significant muscular problems as well, which obviously contributed to his record. But yeah, for me, Jack Wilshere was incredibly unlucky with the injuries he suffered. He wasn't injury prone. He was just injury unfortunate, if you want to put it a better way. But there are other players that are very much like that are just unlucky, and others that are prone to injury, like we have seen. But to suggest that Smith Rowe should be criticised, or we should see this latest injury as kind of something as a turning point or a penny drop moment for our opinion of him, I think is mad. Even to have an extra opinion on his injury record because of this latest injury, I think is mad, because he just rolled his ankle in training like any player could do at any moment. Stephen says, we've had 20 years of injury-prone players. Is there a problem with London Colney's pitches? As the Invincibles were nearly always available, but since the mid-noughties, we seem to have loads out. Anyway, Stephen, that's not true. During the Invincible season, if we think about the Invincible season and we think about the Invincibles team that played during that season. So if we think about the Invincibles team, you've got obviously go from front to back. We'll go from back to front. Lehmann, Lauren, Toure, Campbell, Cole, Silva, Vieira, Ljungberg, Perez, Bergkamp, Henry. That team. Does anyone know how many times that team played together during the Invincible season? As in when they started games together. Can anyone tell me? During 03-04 in the league, does anyone know how many times that specific 11 played together? I'll give you a clue. You can count it on one hand, the amount of times that team played together from the start. And the reason why they didn't play together for more than just what is able to be counted on one hand is because of injuries. It's because of fitness problems. It's because of issues with Vieira being out at times. It's because of fitness problems with Bergkamp at times, because of fitness issues with our players being suspended at times because of the Manchester United situation. But it is an incredible, I think, oversight or an incredible conspiracy that the London Colney pitch was somehow contributing to the amount of injuries that we suffered or do suffer. It's really incredibly frustrating. I think that people point to London Colney. It's not. Loads of teams have injuries. Loads of players get injured because of just normal things that happen. But it's so frustrating. The answer to the question, by the way, is 2, to my knowledge. 2 times, I think, during that season they played together. There was an article on the BBC website, the Invincibles, they played together against Leicester in a 2-1 win on the final day of the season, of course, famously. And the other one was another famous victory against Liverpool in the 4-2 win where Thierry Henry scored a hat-trick. 2 times the Invincibles 11 that we all talk about so famously, they played together just 2 times during that league season. So it gives you a bit of an understanding, I think, about actually injuries and suspensions have been a thing forever. And we have this conspiracy that it's the training pitches or the training regimes or things like this, or the training pitches being too hard. It's not. It's nothing to do with that. It's just injuries happen. It's a contact sport. It's what goes on. Mark says, Tom, any word on Partey's recovery? We did talk about this in part 1. There's optimism that we should have them back soon. So there you go. Lucas says, hi, Tom. Thank you for your daily morning show. Not many people have that dedication like yourself to run this show and have a day job as well. Not Arsenal question related specifically, but will you be doing a studio tour? It's really not that exciting. I can tell you, I can't really move the camera because it's set. I will be getting a new camera soon for the channel, by the way. That we're going to be upgrading. You're going to see this in high def. So, hide your wives because this is going to be in some 4K stuff soon. But behind the computer that you can't see is just loads of soundproofing. A, for the benefit of the sound quality. B, because of my neighbours. If you do a show at 8 a.m., you want to try and protect the neighbours as much as you can. You've got stuff behind, scarves from loads of supporter clubs that have been very kind. And actually, I should have probably given a shout out to these sooner, but I got given some new scarves this weekend, actually. I got one from, where is it? It is from the Green Bay Armory guys there. Awesome till I die. It's quite a nice stuff with LA on the back. And our very own James Ginger Gooner, courtesy of Seth as well, who came over, gave me a very, very, very nice. Sorry that my microphone's going up and down because I'm talking away from it. Gave me this. Where is it? Here we go. Oh, turn this around. Cindy Gooner's scarf as well. How nice is that? So thank you. And I've had a few people message me asking if they can send me scarves. And usually it's not about sending it. If you come over or you know someone coming over, or you can get it that way. That's the way I can take them. But I can't have them sent to an address. I just need them. If you're ever over or ever I'm over there, then that's the way it works. So there you go. Bear says, does Foles support Arsenal? I wish. I don't think so, though. Yanis and the crew are from, I think, Cambridge. I don't think Foles do support Arsenal, sadly. But do I have a Foles? Yes, that's the Foles album. 2 Foles albums behind me there. Obviously, a sub-focus. And then up the top, which you can't see at the moment, but they up there. That one is a fantastic song called Spread Love by Makoto, which you should definitely check out. And that one is another Makoto, which is he's a Japanese drum and bass producer. And then that one, there we go, trying to work out the mirror effect. That one is the Forza Horizon 5, I think, for those that play their racing games. Forza Horizon 5 Hospital Records specific vinyl for the game. So the game has its own radio stations on it, and Hospital Records, which are a drum and bass producer, have their own vinyl. So there you go. There's one poking out. Lovely stuff. Wow, we didn't lose any viewers whilst I did a little bit of a tour of the studio. So there you go. Yomi says, Tommy, when is Roy getting sacked? When is Roy getting sacked? I don't know. I think he'll probably last to the end of the season. Palace really aren't in any danger. So I think he'll probably last to the end of the season, and then they'll make a choice. Them sacking what's his face? Vieira was one of the worst things they ever did. One of the worst decisions they ever made. They should have given Vieira far, far, far more time. Jonathan says, I know Yanis, and I don't think he's ever seen football. That's a shame, Jonathan. What a great, amazing. Oxford. Yeah, they're Oxford boys. Sorry, not Cambridge. Amazing that you know Yanis, by the way. Put me in touch, please. If he does like football, I'd love to have him on the podcast. Hank says, don't mind me, Tom. I'm just entertaining a troll for... Are you? Oh, is it Jimbo? Oh, dear. Jimbo. Dearie me. Lee says, Tom, will one of the goalkeepers go in the summer? I think it's most likely one of them will go. Yes. So absolutely. Charlie says, Tom giving his address out on the internet. Uh-oh. When did I give my address out? What did I do? Oh, it's because I said I can't give my address out. I said I can't give my address out for very obvious reasons. But if you're able to give a scarf to me in person, then there you go. But for obvious reasons, I'm not going to throw my address out, despite some people's attempts to try and reveal it at times. I'm obviously not going to do that. Anyway, Anza says Foden is a wheelchair type player. He gets kicked too, but don't see him getting injured. Smith Rowe is injury prone too, and he's been out injured half the time that he's been at Arsenal. It's kind of an interesting one, but I think it's answer. You have to understand that some of the tackles that Wilshere got, if you read back on them, if you do your research into them, they aren't like the tackles that Foden has received yet because of the difference that they make. The difference that it makes is you can't compare two players because they have a similar style and say, well, he's not been injured, so clearly Wilshere was injury prone. No, it's about the specific challenge that caused the injury as well. Mark says, what's your prediction for the score against Burnley? I think we can replicate the dominance we showed against the Hammers as well. I hope that we can, mate. And on our preview show, of course, at the end of the week, we will be looking ahead to that game as well. There is UEFA Champions League football, of course, getting underway today. That's worth pointing out. We're involved in action next week. But at the moment, we've got Copenhagen against Manchester City tonight, Leipzig against Real Madrid as well. And then tomorrow we've got PSG against Real Sociedad and Lazio against Bayern. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to progress from all those games. And then next week, of course, when we're in action, we've got PSV Dortmund, great game there, Inter Atletico Madrid, Porto Arsenal, and Napoli Barcelona. Some very great fixtures there, and I look forward to seeing them as well. Let's go to let's scroll into the chat. Ishitake says, I think Man City will lose both the matches. Arsenal have a clear chance as well. I really hope that you're right. If Copenhagen can do us a big favour and somehow beat Man City, goodness gracious me. Nick says, who supports Subfocus? Who does the Subfocus? Loads of people. Dimension, 1991, Culture Shock. Wilkinson's done loads of stuff. That Portals thing is a Wilkinson collaboration. So yeah, loads. Wonton Soup says Wilshere never ducked out of challenges, even when he should have done. Some of those injuries were self-inflicted. It's hard to say that they're self-inflicted. Lucas says, should Harry Kane leave Spurs for Man City so that Man City won't win anything anymore? I mean, he won't be leaving Spurs, will he be leaving Bayern, Lucas? Very easy to make that mistake. But it does seem quite funny that he's moved to Bayern and now it doesn't look like he's going to be winning anything. I see you've corrected it now to Bayern, indeed. Gilles says, Thomas, Saka a club legend already. 73 goals involvements now against 72 for Freddie Ljungberg. Not yet. Freddie Ljungberg, of course, was involved in plenty of major cup wins, which cements his legendary status. I think that Saka is certainly on the way. But things can change very quickly. You know, things can change. You think about Alexis Sanchez was probably on his way to legendary Arsenal status, considering the FA Cups he'd won, but he moved to Manchester United and things do change. So we don't know what will be in Saka's future. I really hope that that he doesn't, of course, but I think we've still got to wait for that Saka legendary status. That's for sure. He's had 100 goal involvements for Damien. I think, look, for me, Saka is in a world-class category in terms of a level of player. He's a world-class player for me, Bukayo Saka. Legendary status comes over the course of a career. He's 22. You know, he's 22 years of age. But win the league, and you're looking at cementing yourself there as well. So that's really, really important to remember. But this whole thing is subjective. So my opinion might be different to yours. Just because I've said I don't think he's a legend yet, doesn't mean that you can't think that. You're entitled to have your view if you think that he is, and you can back it up. Fair play. Fuad says, who's the most famous Arsenal supporter that you've ever met? I mean, Thierry Henry obviously is a self-proclaimed Arsenal fan, so I guess that probably comes into it. I met him in the Luton game away from home, walking into a room where I was just kind of a bit starstruck by the fact, because Luton's such a small stadium that their media room is tiny, so the TV pundits are in the same room as the press media. So that was quite the shock when I opened that door to see Alan Shearer and Thierry Henry and Roberto Martinez staring back at me. That was quite incredible. But Arsenal fan that's not a former Arsenal player, I'm not sure. I can't say I've met too many kind of like big famous people outside of football. I mean, Friction, of course, who's on the channel, drum and bass producer, is an Arsenal fan. He's been on the channel. Yeah, I can't say much more really than that. I'm not the type that goes chasing celebrities outside of the sport. So and I've never personally met Alan Davis Jalali, who's obviously a fantastic comedian and actor as well. But I haven't personally met him in person. But there's a lot of Arsenal comedians actually. Ramesh Ranganathan, Rob Beckett, Dara O'Brien, of course, as well. There's others I'm sure I'm forgetting, but there's a lot of Arsenal fan comedians out there. So and I do love my comedy. So yeah, I'd love to have them on the podcast. That'd be great. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Very much appreciate your time. We're going to bring the show to a close there. I enjoyed this show. It was nice. We went on a couple of tangents, a little bit away from the Arsenal, which, you know, at the start of the week, when Arsenal isn't playing for another fair few days, and I'll tell you what, in March, when there could be nearly a 3-week break for Arsenal in terms of games, we might need to go off on some more tangents during that time. I think the phone-in shows will be coming out thick and fast during that period. But thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate your time, as always. I hope you've had a fantastic morning, as always. And I look forward to speaking with you probably tomorrow morning, or certainly tomorrow morning. But in terms of another show, I think the phone-in show will be Thursday. So I look forward to that. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your Tuesday. Get through it. It's the worst day of the week. It'll be fine. We'll get there. Drop a like before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, up the Arsenal.